You know, some of the most powerful stories aren't the ones that are written all at once. They're the ones assembled over centuries, pieced together from little fragments of history, faith, and imagination. Today we're going to trace the incredible evolution of one of those legends, how a completely anonymous Roman soldier at the Crucifixion was transformed into one of Christianity's most revered saints.
So let's just dive right into the central mystery. If you were to open up the Bible looking for the name of the soldier who carried the spear at Calvary, well, you wouldn't find it. He's a ghost in the official text, completely unnamed.
And this, right here, is where it gets really fascinating. The Bible's silence created this vacuum. And into that space, storytellers, theologians, and believers poured centuries of meaning. They didn't just give this anonymous soldier a name, they gave him a whole life story, a miraculous conversion, and a dramatic, heroic ending. So where did this all begin? How do you build a legend from scratch? Well, it started by taking two completely separate, also anonymous, soldiers from the Gospels and essentially stitching them together to create one single, iconic character.
Okay, so here are the two main building blocks. In the Gospel of John, you have one guy. Let's call him the Lancer. He's the one who actually does the piercing. But then, in the other Gospels, you have a totally different soldier, a centurion, the Confessor, who witnesses everything and has this profound moment of faith. The legend of Longinus is literally born when centuries of tradition decided these two guys were actually the same person.
Right, so once this new composite character exists, what's the next step? You have to give him an identity. And this is where the story really starts to move beyond just interpreting scripture and goes into full-blown legend territory.
Now, what's crucial to understand is that the name Longinus was not there from the beginning. For centuries, he was just nameless. Then, all of a sudden, in a 4th century text, the name appears. It's likely a Latin version of the Greek word for spear, which is lance. Makes sense, right? By the 6th century, artists are actually labeling him by name in manuscripts. The anonymous soldier finally has an identity.
But a name isn't enough for a saint, right? You need a great conversion story. So how do you explain why this Roman soldier suddenly has a change of heart? The legend comes up with this incredibly powerful symbolic answer. The story goes that Longinus had terrible eyesight. Maybe he was even partially blind. So when he pierces Christ's side, the blood and water splash onto his face, and bam! His physical sight is instantly healed. It's the perfect metaphor for his spiritual sight being opened at the exact same moment. He can literally see, and now he can spiritually understand. So once Longinus is a convert, his story just explodes with new details. In fact, it gets so popular that it actually splits into two different, really dramatic traditions about his life and his eventual death as a martyr. Let's take a look at the first one. This first version is all about supernatural defiance. Longinus is put on trial, and to shut him up, they literally cut out his tongue and pull his teeth, but he miraculously keeps on speaking. Then he takes an axe to their pagan idols, and when the demons inside them fly out and possess the governor, it's Longinus who has to exorcise them. I mean, this is a story about absolute spiritual power. Now, the second version is a little different. It's less about spectacle and more about a kind of poetic irony and grace. In this one, Longinus refuses bribes to deny the resurrection and has to flee. Soldiers are sent to kill him, but they don't recognize him, and he actually welcomes them into his home and serves them dinner. It's only after the meal that he reveals who he is and calmly accepts his fate. And just notice this beautiful parallel here. His story ends with another miracle of sight, when a blind widow has a vision, finds his head, and her own vision is restored. It's incredible. So why did this story, with all its different versions, have such incredible staying power? Well, it's because its influence went way beyond just ancient texts. It became embedded in the physical, cultural, and artistic world of Christianity. I mean, think about this. Even though he isn't mentioned by name in the Bible, Longinus is officially venerated as a saint across major denominations. The Roman Catholic Church celebrates his feast day on March 15th. The Eastern Orthodox Church has their day for him on October 16th. This just shows how deeply his story was accepted into mainstream tradition. And then, of course, there are the relics. And let's be honest, nothing makes a story feel more real than a physical object you can supposedly see and touch. Over the centuries, multiple churches and entire empires have claimed to possess the Holy Lance, the very spear he used. And these weren't just dusty museum pieces. They were seen as objects of immense spiritual and political power. One was even credited with turning the tide of a major battle during the First Crusade.
And the legend's reach just kept spreading, right into the heart of Western culture. You know the mysterious bleeding lance in the King Arthur legends? That's a direct echo of Longinus' spear. You can go see him immortalized in Bernini's absolutely massive dramatic statue right inside St. Peter's Basilica today. He even plays a key role in Wagner's epic opera, Parsifal. He is everywhere once you know what to look for. When you boil it all down, all of this really explains why the legend is so powerful. Longinus embodies one of the most fundamental ideas in faith, that absolutely no one is beyond redemption. He starts out as the enemy, a pagan soldier, an agent of the state just doing his job. But through one single moment of grace, he's completely transformed into this powerful witness. He is the ultimate outsider who is brought all the way in. And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. The story of Saint Longinus wasn't just found, it was built, piece by piece over hundreds of years. So what does that whole process tell us about our own human need for stories like this? Maybe it shows that we all need to believe that even in the darkest moments, and for the most unlikely people, a single moment of grace really can change everything.